Welcome back to Boxing Info. This is the basically the preview show for this week ending April the 16th, 17th. That other video was way too long to even push over 30 minutes to do the preview of these three decent sized fights that are coming this coming weekend. Also, not to belabor the point, but to finish what I was talking about in the last video about the channel comments. You know, as a lot of you know, I've limited the number of people who can actually comment on the channel, and it's for reasons: to keep the conversation the way it is. And I, from time to time, am guilty of talking about political things on the channel comments, and I've been tempted to open up another channel so we could talk about political things. Not that I'm going to probably do political videos or anything like that. So just so there's no hard feelings between myself and Ega 0117 or Ring Warrior 12 or anybody else, we just need to be a little bit more respectful of A, each other, and B, the fact that you know, I've set out when I made this channel or reopened this channel after my first one was shut down that only very knowledgeable people and respectful people would get the comment, that the nut huggers would not have their day in the sun, and so on and so forth. So let's get to the preview anyway of this week's coming fights. Friday night fights looks like it's going to be a barn burner. Ivan Popopka taking on Ruslan Provnikov, 10-round junior welterweight fight. And I thought that Korean guy with no defense was also fighting. Also that night in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Omar Narvaez is defending his WBO junior bantamweight title against Cesar Seda in a 12-round fight. Listen, as far as a prediction is concerned, I'd go with Narvaez in this fight. Just way too much championship experience. Looking down the line, alright, getting to the April 16th, and this is the Mashantucket, Connecticut HBO card, headlined by Andre Berto taking on Victor Ortiz for the WBC welterweight title. Very intriguing matchup. Very intriguing because both of these guys are somewhat enigmas in themselves. We don't really know all that much about Andre Berto. He's never stepped up in the highest level of class he's ever fought has been the retreads of Luis Collazo and a couple of other former contenders in the welterweight division. Nobody of any real danger, I mean, Juan Urango outside of his comfort zone at 140. And Victor Ortiz seriously stepped up in class one time, and that was against Marcos Maidana, and we all know how that went down. But Victor Ortiz has been, I think, tougher fighters than Berto has. Not that that's going to have any dealing on the outcome, but one thing to remember is Ortiz is moving up from 140. Berto is already at 147, but Berto's not a really big welterweight, so the size difference, Ortiz is a pretty big junior welterweight, so they should be fairly even in size. It's going to be interesting to see, because the last time it was Carlos Quintana that Berto had gone through also. He's had some issues with southpaws, whether it was Casimir Rivera turning southpaw or Luis Collazo giving him all he could handle. And this is a young fighter in Victor Ortiz who's going to be very hungry. My mind tells me Berto's going to find a way to win the fight, but my gut for some reason is telling me Victor Ortiz has just enough fire in him to basically get over the hump. Kind of like that Rios kid at lightweight that just won the WBA title from Acosta. Same thing. You would think that the slicker fighter in Berto would have the upper edge, but there's not that Rios and and Victor Ortiz are cut from even remotely the same cloth, because Brandon Rios is ready to walk through fire to get the job done, where Victor Ortiz looked like he was until the Maidana fight. I think he's got better experience, Victor Ortiz, and I'd like to think that just there's some intangible that's telling me he's going to pull off this upset, if you call it an upset. I just don't think of that highly of Andre Berto. I think he's been very protected. I think both of these guys have been very, very protected by the network that they fight on, as well as their respective promoters. With the exception of the Maidana fight, I think that they thought that was going to be basically a walkover. Golden Boy did, and that's why they put Ortiz in Maidana. I don't see. It's gonna be a technical fight. It should be a good fight, and I wouldn't be. Either guy can win the fight. I'm just. My mind's telling me Berto. My gut's telling me Ortiz, and I wouldn't bet on this fight. I wouldn't wager on it. Same day tape delay. Amir Khan defending his WBA junior welterweight title versus Paul McCloskey. On this side of the pond, we don't know much about McCloskey, except that it must have been easy to make a fight with him, or more agreeable with Golden Boy and Amir Khan's people, than it was with Bradis Prescott. I just think, from what I heard that this was the main reason why David Haye could not fight. This fight is the main reason why David Haye could not fight Vladimir Klitschko on April 30th, because Sky Sports was not going to do 2 pay-per-views in 1 month. And what do I hear earlier last week? It's been bumped from pay-per-view, and it's going to be on regular Sky TV, is what I heard from somebody in the UK. Whether that's substantiated or not, I don't know. I'm looking for Khan to win big here. I'm looking for, he's probably, I would say, going to be very dominant, very similar to his fights with Dimitri Salido or with Polan Malignaggi. McCloskey's got, good credentials stateside, European side. He's not been in with the likes of Marcos Maidana and shine the way that Khan has. Khan's been very sturdy at 140 pounds. Even Andrei Koltanik. I just feel that this may be a whitewash. It may be, over before it gets started. But I look for Khan to win this fight. Probably going away. Middle to middle, it could be anywhere from the 5th round on stoppage or a clear-cut decision, but I don't even think it's going to go the distance, to be honest with you. And in Bayamon, Puerto Rico on Showtime, also on Saturday night, Juan Manuel Lopez, Juanma, taking on former featherweight titleist Orlando Salido. Very intriguing matchup. This is again going to be used as a measuring stick, the same way that Pacquiao was using Shane Mosley as a measuring stick in a down the road look at Floyd Mayweather, because Mosley just fought Mayweather not too long ago, and Pacquiao was going to use Mosley as a measuring stick for Mayweather. Same thing in this fight, although I've been told by many of you, including Avellino, don't mention this fight again, because it really is not going to happen this year or probably anytime soon. And that is, Salido is just coming off of a fight with Yuriorkis Gamboa, in which he put Gamboa down. He got put down himself. A rough and tumble fight that he lost a unanimous decision. Now the idea is, how well can Juanma perform against the same championship caliber opponent? The thing about it is Juanma, if we're even comparing the two, and I'm talking about Gamboa and Juanma, Juanma was this very tight, slick Puerto Rican technician who has gotten a little sloppy and a little careless in recent fights. Now, if you look at Salido's record, it is littered with very good names. He's lost like 11 times, but it's funny, he stopped Rogers Matagua in 5 rounds, and we all know how much trouble Juanma had with him. I was looking up and down his record. He's the one who holds an illegitimate win over Robert Guerrero. Changed to a no contest because he tested positive for a banned substance, some type of a steroid. So this guy has been in with very good competition. The problem is going to be Juanma's fighting at home. Even if he gets caught, this is a Puerto Rico-Mexican battle in which the terms better suit the Puerto Rican fighter who's in his prime or on his way to his prime and fighting at home. I'm looking for Lopez to make a statement here. Whether he gets a stoppage or not, I don't know, but I expect Lopez to win this fight wide, going away. Maybe not as easy as Amir Khan's going to win, but he's going to have some probably anxious moments, maybe 1 or 2, and then basically coast the rest of the way. I know they're saying this is going to set up, a fight down the road with you-know-who, but don't hold your breath waiting for it. If any, it's like somebody had mentioned on my channel comments, if they learned anything from the Devin Alexander-Timothy Bradley fight, it's that Top Rank will never just throw their up-and-coming champions into a fight unless it's ready to be made. Also, in Jakarta, Indonesia on the 17th, Chris John defending his WBA featherweight title against Yordan. Yordan, it comes to mind for 2 things. One, he was giving better than he was taking against Robert Guerrero until they clashed heads, and a tiny little cut caused Guerrero to bail on that fight and caused that to be a no contest. And then Yordan was being dominated over 10 rounds by Celestino Caballero and almost scored a knockout over Caballero, where he caught him flush in the 10th round of that fight, or maybe it was the 12th round, I don't remember. It was just so boring up until the last few seconds, in which he lost a clear-cut unanimous decision to Caballero. Let's put it this way, I think Chris John is better than Caballero, and I think Chris John is probably going to win a very dominant decision in this fight. There may be some, I wouldn't say anxious moments, but quite a few highlights in this fight, because one thing that John doesn't have an advantage over Yordan is that Yordan is a fellow Indonesian fighting in Indonesia, so there's no serious home court advantage in terms of the atmosphere or getting acclimated to the climate or any of that other kind of stuff. This is as close to what could be an even fight on that scale as can be. Now, I personally think that there's a vast difference in their skill sets, and Chris John is here and Yordan is somewhere over here that can't be bridged. I mean, that's where the proverbial puncher's chance comes in. But I think that Chris John wins this fight by a clear-cut unanimous decision, and it'll be a decent fight. That's going to do it for this episode of the previews. I hopefully will be back next week to review these fights and give any more news that comes about. Thanks, everybody.